Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse Syndicate Show, pregame show, live with Quis from Sports Vibes TV. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How's everything with you?
Very good, very good. Good to see you, man. Good to
Enjoying
see
this
you.
3-game win streak?
I have, actually. I have. You know, it's been brutal trying to, come on here and talk glowingly about the team and talk about, the losses. It's just, there's a lot of wear and tear, that I don't think people realize, like, how exhausting it is. How about for you?
Yeah, it's exhausting. You can have burnout, especially when you're talking about things that aren't necessarily positive. But, you got to do what you got to do. And we've still been uploading content, even though things have been rough. And you got to enjoy these moments when we got a nice little 3-game win streak. Looking for more wins. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about, as you can see down below, will Knicks regret making a play-in/playoff push? I'm sure the play-in is an objective for them, but I'm pretty sure that Thibs wants to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, you already know that.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll dive into it. But first, shout out to the chat. Thank you, Geraldine, for joining us. Sincere to Genius, DJ Dax. Thank you, guys. We got started a little bit late today, thanks to me. Oh man! So, how did you feel about the last game, the Mavericks? Man, remember we did it. We did actually. We had a fun pregame show on
pregame. Yeah. With that, it felt a lot like the first time we went up against the Mavs. They were coming in a little bit hot, and we were able to pretty much run them off the court. So I like that. It got a little competitive towards the third quarter when they pulled in within 14.
Yeah.
And then Julius Randle was able to knock down some shots that at least give us some more space, give us some more distance in the lead. But other than that, it was a solid win. I'm happy we were able to get that W. Some things you weren't too fond of. The fact that, how many minutes did Taj play? 19 compared to Sims only played 6. So that's something you're kind of not too thrilled about. But Deuce got 22 minutes.
Yeah, Deuce got 22 minutes. That Deuce and IQ backcourt.
Ooh. Yeah, like Summer League all over again.
It is. It just kind of makes you wonder why we waited so long.
Yep. And World Wide West has been saying it behind the scenes.
Charlie Brown here. He's the reason why.
Yeah.
He and now he's
refuses to go with the youth.
Refuses. Well, I mean, we say that, but I mean, he has started RJ from the very beginning. But
RJ's the 3rd overall pick. There's a lot of equity invested in RJ, so he can't come into this organization and then decide to bench RJ when RJ is viewed as the future superstar on this team. Exactly. So we already know he didn't have the ability to really do with RJ as he pleased.
I know, but you know what? If there was a coach out there who could have sat in RJ or not started RJ, it would have been Thibs. He went with him. And he's rewarded him. They both rewarded each other, actually. Because even when RJ was not looking good earlier in the season, remember that stretch, man? That painful stretch where had us kind of like staring into the abyss.
The few stretches, because it was so inconsistent with his play. He'd give you 4 or 5 games where he looked like he could be breaking through, and then it seemed like he would regress. So now we're starting to see him be a little bit more consistent. We're not seeing any of those single-digit scoring games. Even when he's having a poor shooting night, he's still around 15, 16, 17 points.
Yeah, you're right. It was,
and he's giving you other things outside of the points too, with the rebounds and the assists.
Playmaking too. Playmaking. But I've decided, I think when it was happening, I was like, oh, well, he was good. And for this 2-week period, this 10-day to 2-week period, then he had a nice little flurry for here. But then I look at it now as that was just a period of inconsistency. Because now, since the beginning of the year, since December 31st, actually, he has just been consistently fabulous. I mean, he's leveled up. His efficiency hasn't been necessarily there in terms of his 2-point game. The 3-point game is there, but even the efficiency now is starting to pick up since the All-Star break. So he's just trending upward beautifully. And this is, it's answered the question. Is RJ, at least for me personally, has answered the question, is RJ a future piece for a championship run? I do believe so. Is he a number one? He's not there yet. No. But is he definitely a number three? Absolutely a number three. Could he be a number two? We'll see. But he definitely, to me, looks like a key piece, a key cog for a championship run. How about you? How do you feel?
I agree with you. I think he can definitely be a contributor on a major contributor on a championship team. It's just that the front office that he's playing for is they're going to have to build around him. So I'm excited to see what we do in the offseason. And I want to see how he closes out the rest of this season, because based on that, it can give me a little bit more information as to where I think RJ's ceiling could be. Because right now, I think we all have come to a consensus that I think we see stardom in his future, but I want to see now, can he step another ring higher and hit superstardom? And if that is something that he can do in his tenure here with the Knicks, then I think that'll be something that Knicks fans haven't seen in forever, and it's something that we can continue to build around. We got a homegrown player in RJ, and we've got other young pieces that I think, bode well with him or play well with him out there on the court. We just have to continue building upon that. And that's why, we're going to talk about the topic. I still want to see some wins this season moving forward. I don't want to go full tank.
All right, you're getting ahead.
I'm getting ahead of stuff. I apologize.
No, but no, I mean, I hear you. I think you and I have a very similar take on it. I may jump on, just to play devil's advocate. Yeah, I may jump around on my actual approach to the topic, but I think
you're the host. You got the will.
Yeah, I mean, it just you want to flesh the topic out. But New Yorker, he says RJ's hitting his free throws now, and that's another key piece to him being a star. You can't be a star in this league, unless you're a big center, something like that. Anything below 6'10" that doesn't live under the rim.
If you're a ball handler,
in any way, or playmaker in any way, especially if you're driving to the rim. If you are someone who feasts on driving to the rim, and that's a big part, penetration is a big part of your game, you have to hit your free throws, and now he's doing it. In fact, I don't have that number right now, but I'll look it up. He's up in the 90%, I believe, in the past 4 games, I think, which is sweet. Maybe 3 games.
And that checks off 2 of the boxes when I said that's what I'm looking for. See whether or not RJ's a star, consistency and knocking down his free throws. So we're starting to see both of those things happen here in the season, and we just want him to continue building upon that, because RJ, he has that mentality of a winner, of a leader. So if he's able to go out there and perform on the court, and he's able to take that leadership role, I think the young guys will start to look up to him, and it'll just have a positive effect on the team. From vets, because I'm sure the vets love him, and also you see the young guys kind of go around him as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to grow this season. That's my main objective right now, to see what RJ becomes for the remaining portion of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it looks like he's heading in that direction. Even best put in just all-star. People are around the league, I'm reading that they're looking at him as making an all-star run next season. So at least he got into that level now where he's now in the conversation of a future all-star, where before it was highly speculative. We were kind of thinking, well, if he did ABC, which we've already talked about some of the things he needed to do, then maybe he might enter maybe a fringe all-star. Right now, the way he's doing it, we can almost remove fringe. If he delivers what he's been doing since January 1st, he's going to be an all-star, especially with the power of the New York fan base.
Yep.
Yeah, voting him in, and he'll deserve it. I mean, we don't vote in scrubs. We could have been homers and try to vote in Julius again.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it, man.
Yeah, you were like, oh, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say?
I knew what you were gonna say. I was waiting to see if you'd actually follow through.
Yeah, man. Before we jump into the next topic, in case anyone missed this, thank you. We surveyed 100 people. Thank you so much. Knicks starting five. It's the same.
Same five.
Burks, Fournier, Barrett,
at the
Randall, and Mitch. Good to see Mitch in there again.
Mm-hmm.
And we surveyed also put in the chat. Obi Toppin is questionable today. Memphis left hamstring strained. ESPN had him listed as out, but I heard that he is actually questionable. And we heard some interesting news about who was it?
D Rose.
D Rose. Actually, why don't you speak to that?
Yeah. Let me see if I have the tweet that I sent you. I think Berman tweeted it.
Mm-hmm. I think
that
so.
Rose seems to be not too close to returning. Here we go. Berman says Derrick Rose seems far away from return. He left road trip a couple of days ago for an exam in New York. Thibodeau mentioned infection just clearing up now. So it seems like he may not be able to return before the end of the season.
May not be able to. And it's interesting because it's gonna fold right into the next topic about the playoff push, whether we're gonna regret it or not. So it's gonna be interesting. Fred Katz of The Athletic, he tweeted out Cam Reddish does not need surgery on his injured shoulder, Tom Thibodeau says. And everyone,
that's positive. I think there's 6 different types of sprains.
That's
and the
one
first
thing.
3 aren't too crazy, and you don't need surgery to resolve it. And the last 3, you need surgery to go in there and get it fixed. So the fact that he doesn't need surgery, that's going to be good for the healing process. And I think they already said it's probably a 6-week timetable. So that's definitely good to hear for Cam.
Yeah. Yeah. I read somewhere, someone posted that a 6-week timetable made it seem like it was a pretty kind of like a mild shoulder strain based upon the 6 weeks diagnosis. Yeah, timetable. And then now
I'm guessing it's a grade 1 or grade 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
6 in total.
Not sure what the grade was, but now with this news that he's not needing surgery, that really confirms that even more. And that's great news because once I don't like knives going into the shoulder area. There's always a risk of something. For some reason, it's more troublesome here than in the elbows. For some reason, I've heard of more things going wrong with actual shoulder surgeries than with elbow surgeries. But in this case,
shoulder and back, you want to stay away from.
Yeah. Oh, the back. Oof. Don't even. The word back. That's what killed my tennis career.
Indeed, though.
Shout out to the chat. Starlight Roller, thanks for joining us. Even Best, New Yorker, Tricky Nicky, Let's Talk Knicks, UPG. All right, we got a good crew in here.
Thank you guys for tuning in and supporting. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a Friday night live stream pregame show with a big game. Big game tonight. Yep. I'm excited about this game.
Yeah, me too. Especially with the team playing as well as it's been playing. You didn't want to come into this game with us struggling because then you really wouldn't have any hope. But we're on a 3-game win streak. Seems like the team is starting to grow and build some chemistry out there. So let's see how we go up against some legitimate competition in the Grizz.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, the thing is too, like win or lose, we also want them to be competitive.
Yep.
Those blowouts were just brutal to deal with, and also coughing up huge leads, which we haven't done in the past 3 games. We've actually blown people out. In the past 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to front. It hasn't been the most exciting basketball to watch because the outcome has been decided in well into the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
more than a few minutes left.
Yeah, we got all tight because leads got cut to 14.
Yeah,
we're all nervous.
Twitter.
A 14-point lead. It's a decent lead.
Yeah, everybody's saying we've seen this story before. I was like, yeah,
man. Well, I think the Knicks are. I was checking the odds, but I mean, we won by. We beat the Kings by 16. We beat the Mavs by 30. That's already 46, and we beat the Clippers by 23.
Yeah.
That's some serious punishment that we've been imposed on the opponents. All right, well, let's hey, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit it for us. Really appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet into the Knicks-Verse and Sports Vibes TV. And don't forget to tune into the Sunday shows, special live Sunday shows with Quis and Foxy on Sports Vibes TV. They're not to be missed. And let's get to it. Here we go. So, the topic of the day, before we do the actual pregame preview, is basically we're going to look at, are the playoffs worth sacrificing a lottery pick? Now, Sports Illustrated had an article that they put out, and then The Ringer also had another one, and we'll show the odds of this. But basically, they are saying the tanking era is over because the lottery odds have been flattened drastically compared to years before. And it's also not something like, I mean, you just get one shot at it. It's not like you get, 8 lotteries during a season. I mean, you just get one shot. That's it. So you can, tank your whole season and still end up with just the 8th pick, which in this year's draft, the 8th pick is, you're not guaranteed of getting necessarily even a rotation player. You're not guaranteed. There's a good chance you will. But in terms of getting a star, we're really looking at those top 4 or 5. And even those, I was listening to some other podcast. They had like a cool thing where they went through it and they said, okay, if the players that we have this year, where would the number 1 pick of each of the last 10 drafts, where would they fall in this draft? Almost all of them would have been the number 1 pick, according to these guys, and they made great arguments for it. So it's, even though at the top it's a decent draft, a strong draft with Chet Holmgren, Jaden Ivey, Jabari Smith, Paolo Banchero, and Johnny Davis. Outside of those 5, which I think those 5 are, they're going to be, they have starters potential. But I don't even think any of those top 5 would crack the top 5 of last year's draft. What's your feeling about this whole to tank or not to tank?
Me, I've never really been into tanking. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to root for the team to lose. I understand losses do come with the game, but I don't go out there and say, all right, I feel like this team has no chance, so let's try and get as bad of a lottery selection as possible. I feel like the lottery odds are what the lottery odds are, and as long as we go out there, try and be competitive, if we lose, it's one thing, but to try and to keep losing and trying to set the organization up in a situation where losing is the most possible outcome, I don't think that's a great way to build a contender. Yes, you'll be able to get some high draft picks, but look at Philly. They haven't been able to win a championship, and a lot of those high draft picks they ended up having to move on from. So there's no guarantee when it comes to tanking, and that's why that's not a route I would suggest or a route that I would root for. Yes, if you don't have the requisite talent to be in the playoffs, you're going to end up in the lottery, but it doesn't mean you should start from a season or even midway through the season and just set your team up to fail. Tanking is setting yourself up for failure. Losing is going out there, making the best effort to win and just not having it that night. And that's what I'm cool with. But trying to set everything up in a situation where this team is going to be in a position where we can't go out there, compete and win, I don't think that's going to be good for the young guys, because the young guys need to be in competitive situations where they can, learn from them. There's things to learn from a loss, but if you can't go out there and get a hard fought win and build upon what you learned in that loss, I think it's not going to be something that you can then, take with you moving forward or build upon within the culture. So that's why I'm not really big on tanking, honestly.
Okay. I'll explain my feeling about it, but I'm going to take the opposite position right now, just for the sake of it, in terms of the positives of what tanking could bring you. You're right. I mean, you pointed out a great example, which are the Sixers. They've even traded away 2 of their number 1 picks after they used them.
Yep.
You know,
Fultz
Fultz
and
Simmons.
Okafor. We forgot
Ben
Okafor.
Simmons. Oh, Okafor and Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Well, Okafor was
3.
Okafor
Well, no,
was
Okafor was 3. I'm sorry. Yeah,
he was the third
Okafor,
pick.
the 3rd pick. Yeah, you're right.
But okay, that's you know what, that kind of counts. It's a top 3 pick.
That's usually 3 top 3 picks that they've traded and really don't have much to show for, because Harden was a no-show in the matchup against the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, Harden is like, I mean, that's the one advantage. You know it to make the case for it. If you at least draft correctly, even if the guy is not a star, he could be a piece to get you a star. You know, so if you draft, let's say, for example, Jaden Ivey or Chet Holmgren. I mean, Chet's a special kind of player, so he's a little bit different. Let's stick with an Ivy or a Banchero or one of those kind of guys, a Jabari Smith, which are, you know, high quality players. You can package them with other pieces and maybe bring yourself, you know, a future Donovan Mitchell or Karl Anthony Towns or something. Whereby, if you're drafting in like the lower lottery, you know, the odds of finding somebody like that diminish greatly, especially in years where the lottery is thin. Now, we were a little spoiled last season. It was incredibly deep lottery. I could even say, or incredibly deep draft in general. I mean, there's a possibility that about 30 players from last draft will be, you know, fixtures and rotations up and down the NBA for years to come, and some are going to be, you know, superstars. So this is not, we're not dealing with that this year.
I mean, look how many second rounders are contributing.
Yeah. Look at Herb Jones. Look at Herb Jones. Yep. He's one of the top
Deuce
defenders in the game. Yeah, Deuce, who we you know, we just got a little taste of.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see here. I gotta. Sometimes comments they're left for review. I gotta go and like say, okay. But you know, there is a lot to be said for just basically kind of like letting the season kind of like just let go of the rope and just basically just do the full tank, especially now. We're 17 games away from the end of the season. I'm sorry. We are 16 games, including tonight. 16 games, including tonight. Before we did this 3-game win streak, you know, a great argument could have been like, what's the point? What's the point of trying to expend energy and possibly injure certain guys by trying to get into the playoffs? Why not just tank and get the highest draft pick as possible? And let's look at the actual odds here. So the very worst record has a 14% chance of getting number 1 pick. Same for the second worst and same for the third worst. So that's flat. So the 3 worst records all share the same odds of getting number 1 pick. Now the fourth worst gets a 12.5% chance. Fifth gets a 10.5% chance. Then it goes down accordingly. 9% for the sixth, 7.5% for the seventh worst, 8 to 6%. And it starts getting even flatter. The ninth is a 4.5% chance of getting number 1 pick. But we've seen, actually, it was last year. Couple teams, actually the past couple of drafts, teams that were in the like 9th spot, 10th spot, projected to be in there, jumped up into the top 3. So when you're talking about, let's say you finish with a 7th worst record, you only lose 6.5% of a chance of getting the number 1 pick. That's not that drastic. It's almost, it's like, is it worth? I mean, that's when it comes down to I don't know. When you see these kind of odds, does this kind of confirm your feeling about like no tanking, or does it encourage you? Or
I mean, even when you look at the standings where the Knicks would fall, you really won't see that big of a drop off in our positioning. So, that just reconfirms to me, or that just confirms to me that there's no real benefit for us to tank where we are now, because we're not going to get into a position where we have, I think, the seventh or the sixth worst record and hold that while we're playing the young guys, because the young guys, I think, are the best version of this team. So if we're going out there playing the young guys, we're going to win some games, and I don't see us finishing with the sixth, fifth worst record. I would see us finishing somewhere around the 11th, 12th, and at that point, what's the big deal between finishing with that 10th or compared to finishing with the 12th worst pick?
Well, I mean, but look, there you go. You just kind of made the argument in like some ways for tanking, which means don't play the kids. Because I'm with you. I think we play the kids, we're going to play better. And I actually put a whole video out today showing the math of what happened when the minutes were flipped. The majority of the minutes used to go to the 25 and over players on the Knicks, and the 24 and unders were like in the 46%, and the above the 25 and over were in the 54% or whatever. That's been flipped since the All-Star game, and look how we're playing. So you're right, but you can also say, hey, you know what, we're going to tank, so we are not going to play our best players. We're going to keep trotting Fournier and Burks and play them 38 minutes a game, and then
but George, you see, here's the issue. When most teams tank, they're playing their young guys, so at least they're getting them to have some moments out there where they can develop. If we play the vets to tank, then we're just missing out on opportunities to get some of these young guys involved. And now we're at the mercy of the draft, where there's no guarantee that who we pick or who's selected by us is going to be someone that's going to be a major contributor or impact player. So I would rather take the knowns that we have, which are the players on this roster now, the young guys, get them out there, allow them to learn on the job and get better, and then we can bring in some additional talent wherever we end up picking. I think if you look at where the Knicks are picking right now, where we have the 10th worst record. So to get up to 6 with Sacramento, they're about 4.5 or maybe 4 games below us. So we'd have to go on a major losing streak and hope that the Kings would win some games, because we would need help. We're not in a position where we control our destiny. It's not a situation where we just lose as many games and we would automatically know that the teams below us would start winning games to change positioning, because for all we know, we can go on a 16-game losing streak, so will all the teams below us, and now we're stuck with the same 3% chance at the number 1 pick, and then we just gained nothing when it comes to developing some of the younger guys. Yeah. So for me, I don't think tanking is the way to go. I think we should continue to play the young guys, see what we have, so we can develop them and also get more information so we can make more educated decisions on their futures in the offseason.
Absolutely. We got a super chat from Starlight Roller. Thank you so much for your contribution, brother. We're going to continue with the tanking discussion. Just wanted to ask Starlight, do you mean improve the current lottery draft format, or you mean the playoff in the play-in format? Just want to make sure what you mean by that. I'll try and answer the question in both ways. Keith, you want to go at it first? Let's talk about it from a draft standpoint, the way the lottery odds are and everything, that it's flat now.
I mean, me personally, I don't have too much of an issue, because they're getting what they wanted when they changed it, to get teams that aren't throwing in the towel for the last for the last 20% of the season, in order to get better draft position, and then you're getting better games out of it. Even though you still have some teams that are actually winning and resting guys, but for the most part, you're still getting somewhat competitive games to end the season. And we're not seeing, players that, fans are paying to go watch not be put out there because teams are quote unquote, trying to tank or whatever the case may be. So me, I don't have too big of an issue with the odds the way they are. And honestly, the odds never go in the Knicks' favor. So I really don't get too crazy when it comes to the
but
lottery.
odds are one day they will.
One day.
One day they will.
Like they say, may the odds forever be in your favor.
Yeah. I do have a bit of an issue with how flat the odds have become. Because I think like the year when we had the worst record. I mean, we got screwed.
Yeah, that's why you don't like it, because you were on the losing end of it. But
well,
if you were the
but we were losing
or the Grizzlies, you'd be thrilled.
Yes, but we were losing because we were bad. We weren't losing because we had a coach who just basically screwed it up, and had a team that underperformed. And but we actually have some good assets. I mean, like the way we were basically so confused up until going into the All-Star break. But if you have a really bad team and you should get at least one of the top 2 picks, and you end up with, I think now at best, the worst you can get is the 5th pick. That's a big difference. Like this year, and especially this year's draft, the difference between the number 1 pick and the 5th pick is huge this season. Last season, it wasn't so huge, but most years it is. So in that respect, I do feel like maybe the odds got a little too flat, a little too much emphasis on trying to push teams away from tanking. But I think they may have gone a little too extreme. So I would look at try to modify those chances a little bit. If you have the worst record, I think you should get, I don't know, what were the original odds? Do you remember? I can't remember what was off the top of my head.
I know if you had the worst record, the lowest you can go was 3, but I don't remember the odds off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think so. See, like that, like 3. That makes more sense. But I think there's a happy medium somewhere between where we're at right now and where we were. But I do like the idea of, basically making tanking unappealing to teams. And the play-in is a big part of it. So we'll talk about the play-in now. Do you like the play-in in general?
I'm still getting used to it. It really, honestly, we haven't really, as a fan base, we haven't really been in a situation where we have to experience the play-in. So honestly, it doesn't upset me. I really don't get too thrown off by the play-in. It's not great that now we have 10 teams going in and you have a team like either 7 or 8 that they can get kicked out. So if the Knicks were to fall in one of those positions, then I'd probably be upset. But honestly, I'm not too thrown off by the new edition of the play-in. It kind of goes away from some of the norm, but I don't really have too much of an issue, honestly. It's an additional game. We all know the reason for it is to make some additional money for the NBA. Has nothing to do with competitive balance or anything like that. But
I like it. I think I like it. There were years where basically almost post All-Star, like games were. I mean, you'd see some games on the TV schedule that were just like, oh my god, this is like boring, so boring. But now, and teams were actually just, guys would just take the last 15 games off of the season. You don't see that much now, and that's good. That's healthy. It's healthy for competition. It's healthy for teams like ours that we want to feature the younger guys, and we want them to play against other teams that are trying to win, because that's how you only get better by playing against teams that are better than you. Same in any sport. You only truly improve by playing against better competition. And if teams are just kind of like phoning it in, then you're not going to get that. So in that respect, I do like that part of it. I think there's a lot of pluses. Do I think it's perfect yet? No. I think there might be another wrinkle or two coming in the future. But thanks so much, Starlight Roller, for that super chat. That was a great topic.
Yeah, one addition. The only thing I don't like is the one win and you're in. You've got a team like that's either 7 or 8, and they go up against a team that, let's say they were 10, and they end up winning one game, and it's I won't say a fluke game, but it was one of those games where you have a miraculous opponent. I mean, a miraculous performance, and you have a team that put together a nice 82 game body of work, and to be sent home after just one game, I think that probably wouldn't be the best scenario for a team after all they've done throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. That part, I actually didn't even realize that was how they had it structured until very late last season. That probably needs a little finessing as well. I think they'll probably see how it goes this year, and then maybe they'll reevaluate it. We have an update from We Survey 100 People, who I made you a moderator. I hope you've been great.
We
so
Survey
helpful.
got
I should have done it a while ago. Yeah, man. Obi Toppin is out tonight, so no Obi, and that's a big bummer, man.
Facts.
That's a bummer. Damn. We need to get him out there. That's part of the youth movement. Right now, we're missing 3 of our key youngins.
Obi, Cam, and Grimes.
Yeah, that can't be. We need them.
That can't be.
Grimes, what was that? They got the update on.
I think it was Wednesday. Right before we had the last pregame.
Yeah, so Wednesday we got the update that 10 days they were going to look at him. So that is a week from
8 days from today.
Yeah, about a week from today or so. Hopefully things will go well and he'll be back on the court as soon as possible. I mean,
you guys just have to take his time though. We don't want him getting thrown into situations where he's doing a little bit too much. We know how Tibbs is. He can get a little overzealous and stubborn, and he'll have Grimes playing 35 minutes first game back. So absolutely. I would like to see him come back with a minutes restriction. And I think that's good too, because if there's a minute restriction on him, then Tibbs can't throw him out there for too many long stints. And also that would force Tibbs to play a little bit of a larger rotation than he's used to.
Yes. It'd be nice. Well, he was averaging, I put it out there, like 20. He was averaging 28 and a half minutes for a little stretch there.
You see, so if he comes back and Tibbs gives him that same workload, I'm not sure, how that would affect the knee. So if he can come back, play maybe 15 to 18, and then we can still keep Deuce in the rotation, I think that's the perfect scenario. And also with Rose still dealing with his injury, that's, it sucks for Derrick Rose, but that's good for the young guys, because that's another body that's not going to come in.
Good for Deuce.
One of them out of the rotation. Yeah.
More Deuce and IQ backcourt. Gotta see that, man. That's been outstanding. Little AJ Vivo, he puts in here, this draft is weak. The only good person that could get play time is Jabari Smith. There's no good star point guard in this draft. Not sure about the Jabari Smith being the only one, but for sure there are no star point guards in this draft this year. And that's our number one need.
And to me, if that's the case, if this isn't a deep draft, how much should we really tank then? Because even if you tank, you may not end up low enough to pick one of those guys, and then you still have to deal with the odds that the one you pick ends up being the bust. So there you go. It's way too much risk involved, I think, to go and try to tank now, especially like if that was going to be your goal to start the season, then you have a clear slate. But we're already in a position where I think we're far enough ahead of some of those teams like the Pistons and the Thunder, to the point where it really doesn't make sense to try and worsen our lottery odds or better our lottery odds right now.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think at this point, if you look at these draft odds, like really where it starts becoming, where you start getting a meaningful chance at getting one of the top 3 picks, or even the top pick, you got to have the eighth worst record. The 6%.
Even at 6%.
Yeah.
I want a 10% chance, right around 10% at 6 worst.
So that's 5th. That's 6 or 5th. Yeah, there you go. Now that's a lot of losing.
Exactly. You look at Tankathon, we're too far ahead.
Yeah, and we already went through a hellacious losing phase. We lost 17 of 20. Can you imagine?
We did a soft tank and it didn't work.
Yeah. With featuring the vets. And now we're playing the young guys. If you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. It's called Is the Youth Movement Working for the Knicks? I think that's the title of it. I can't even remember the title of my own video. Because I sit there, I'm like,
listen, man, you drop so many videos, you kind of forget what the titles are to some of them. You know the topic, but title.
I know the topic, but it's a good one. It's because it goes into the actual math of the minutes distribution and how it's actually shifted since the All-Star break, and how it totally impacts all the players and the defensive ratings and the actual the team scoring and the points allowed. All of that. It's a pretty good video. It was part of the Cam video, but I think people were so bummed about the Cam news, no one tuned in to watch the rest of it. So I put it out as an extra video. But all right, so I think we're both on a similar stance in terms of whether the playoffs are worth sacrificing a lottery pick. I think the way that the Knicks are currently constructed, yes, it is worth it, because Julius Randle, he's still relatively young. He's 27, and we don't get into the playoffs unless he's balling like he has been recently. So if he's balling, that's good for the franchise. Either way, ups his value, and we can trade him in the summer, or we download that Calm app on his phone, and he starts chilling out a little more.
Tell him to woosah.
Yeah, and then he becomes more comfortable. He has like a whole summer to become more comfortable in his role as the deputy to RJ, being the town sheriff. Even though Deuce is the real sheriff who locks people up, but you know what I mean. Like, RJ's obviously the leader. He has more of the demeanor of it. He's more even keeled, and he's just becoming a lethal player on both sides of the court, mostly offensively. His defense it's coming back. I'm seeing some positives, but I think we got Grimes, we got Quickly, Deuce, Sims. We got a lot. Mitch is still young. So if we get into the playoffs, if we get into the play-in and somehow miraculously win 2 games and get into the actual playoffs, that means that the players that we have on this team earned it. And if they earned it, that's going to raise the appeal for other players to want to come to the Knicks. And in verse, it creates it puts us back to that winning culture that we had last season. It kind of wipes away the sins of the first 4 months of this season to some degree, not entirely.
Not, because we need Tibbs out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of. But here's the thing: if we get into the actual playoffs, I think Tibbs saves his job.
Yeah, it definitely saves his job.
That's the downside of it, from my standpoint. That's the downside of it, because he's just been incredibly too stubborn. Incredible. I mean, look at us. We've been putting out videos, one after the other, showing, proving that young guys play the young guys. This is a waste doing this. Why are you starting Kemba? Why Fournier? We did everything we could to put the content out there, the data out there, the information out there.
We were just as stubborn as Tibbs.
Yeah, we were just as stubborn. Yeah. But now we're being proven out to have been correct. Correct. Now, of course, all of that is because of RJ mostly. Without RJ doing it, then we wouldn't have much to stand on. All right, let's before we jump into the actual pregame, I want to shout out anyone in the chat.
New Yorker, he says we need Deuce on Ja tonight. Gregory Lee says we've drafted extremely well. We just don't have the right coach to develop. Tibbs was supposed to be the coach after our players have been with a developmental coach. Yeah, Tibbs really doesn't have the makings to be a bridge coach. Tibbs is probably the guy you want to bring in once you have all those guys already on the roster and you need somebody to just tie everything together with a nice defensive system and with a star that say you can tell to go out there and get a bucket. That's the type of team Tibbs needs.
Yeah,
not a young team,
Yeah, so I think you're right. Right, it should have been reverse. Keep have a developmental coach the first 2 seasons, 3 seasons maybe, and then you bring in a Tibbs.
Yep.
But we got Tibbs.
And even then, I still wouldn't bring in Tibbs to be the Tibbs.
Well, in that, yeah. I'm It depends on what the team needed. If we had like a team with, like great offensive players, but we're lacking defensively, Thibs is the kind of guy you do want to bring in.
Yeah, you bring him in to be a defensive coordinator. I'm still not bringing him in.
Or
to
even
be the
that.
coach.
But I would. I mean, but let's say it had to be a head coach in that scenario. I would like him to be the head coach because he brings you that defensive tenacity, supposedly that accountability. The problem is all that's been exposed this year now.
Yeah. Not even another reason, I've seen it firsthand why I wouldn't bring in Tibbs, because a lot of the things they said he really isn't that.
Yep. Air Force One.
Salute.
Yeah,
that's our guy.
Kenny Atkinson. Yeah, that's our number one guy here.
If they make a change, he better be the first person they bring in for an interview.
He has to
be on top of the list.
He has to be. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Really appreciate that. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. It's been great. The chat's been awesome. I've been scanning it the whole time. So it's a great conversation going on here. Little AJ Vivo says, imagine Knicks versus Nets with no Kyrie playing matchup.
Imagine anybody versus the Nets with no playoff, with no Kyrie during the playing matchup. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially if Ben isn't back by then.
Even with Ben. Playoff Ben? I'll take playoff Ben.
Yeah, but playoff Ben is next to playoff KD now. All you have to do is tell him go play defense, and I'll take all the shots.
It's true with KD out there.
It's different when he was with Embiid. Ben had to bring the ball up, get the play started. Now with KD, you say, "Hey, KD, you do what you do, and I'll play defense for the entirety of the game." That's it.
You know what? I'm still of that in that stance of I need to see it. And I remember last year we were talking about the Nets and the Sixers. I was like, no. Last year people were saying the Sixers were gonna go all the way. And I was like, I need to see it. I need to see it first because the playoffs are a whole different beast. And then look what happened. Total chaos for the Sixers. Ben gets frightened.
I don't understand the stage fright either. It's not like it was his first time in the playoffs. He's been in an environment like that before, no? So why now of all the time?
But he was so exposed. I think in the past he was able to kind of like the light wasn't shining right on him when he tried to go up for those two layups or a dunk. One of them would have been a dunk. And he passed it up. And like there's no he was afraid of Trey blocking a shot. When he did that, then it was like, whoa, this is a little more serious than we all thought.
Yeah, but that's after the fact. Something had to happen before he got that stage fright. And he's been in high intensity games in the playoffs. You can remember the historic Toronto Raptors run where Kawhi made that shot to send him home. He was there in that situation, in that game. That was a high, intensity moment, and he didn't shrivel up the same way we saw him shrivel up last year. So I just need to know like what triggered that. It's just, to me, it's kind of weird. We all knew he can't shoot. We all knew he was scared to shoot, but for him to now be scared to shoot layups, that's something different.
He just didn't want to go to the line.
He
didn't want to go to the line with a game on the line. He did not want that, and it cost him millions of dollars. Like his credibility, he humiliated himself. He tried to make himself the victim. Like everything, every move was bad. He ended up with the Nets now, so we'll see. We'll see how the Brooklyn fans treat him. Hey, we got about 90 in the chat.
Nice.
Thank you guys for watching it. Hit that thumbs up button when you get a chance. It'd be great. Welcome, Lex, the Destroyer. Best mod around. All right, let's get into previewing this matchup, which I'm excited to see tonight. I'm excited to see what type of Knicks team is going to show up.
Yeah. Remember at one point during the season, we didn't know who was going to show up. We didn't know if they would come out and play hard or if they were going to come out looking lethargic and uninspired.
And every night was like an unknown. And what kind of crazy shit is Julius going to do tonight? Remember that when that was always the question? Well, that is still the question.
It's still the question. We still don't know what he's going to do.
That is still the question. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Will he even show up tonight? He actually came out. He was only 1 of 7 against the Mavericks
to start.
Yeah, to start.
And he figured things out.
Then he got cooked.
He was as cold as they were in the first.
Yeah, I gotta shout him out. I think he played a pretty good game last time out. He delivered. He did the things that you need one of your best players to do, which is get you that bucket when you need that bucket.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we ask of him. You know, that's the shit that we needed from him in the Atlanta series. Like, yo, we need this bucket right here, right now. Get it. Instead, it was like, so that's encouraging. That's encouraging. Any other thoughts about Julius?
Nope.
Your favorite player?
That's not my favorite player. God bless him. I hope he can continue to play well, man.
Yeah.
If he plays well, like you said, it'll up his value in the trade market. And if not, if he's here to stay, I think, you can look to have him be the 3rd best player on a potential championship roster. So you bring in another guy that can be, the Robin to RJ's Batman or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you still have Randall to be Alfred.
Absolutely. And there was a time where Robin did take over as the Batman. Mm-hmm. If you guys read,
I mean, Robin even broke off and became Nightwing, no?
Yes, that's right.
Here we go, getting into DC Comics.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, you tune in. Not only do you get Knicks speak, you get comic speak, everything. We talk about all kinds of stuff here. So this matchup here, another matchup, RJ against Ja. I love it. I think this is one of the best young matchups rivalries out there in the game. The number 2 pick versus number 3 pick. The much maligned.
The number 1 pick doesn't play.
And the number 1 pick doesn't play. Yeah, Zion. Though today he was there practicing with the Pelicans. I saw a photo on Twitter. And he looked good.
In shape?
He looked like he had shed, like about, 30 pounds. No, he looked like he had shed a few pounds. He looked good. He looked good out there. I mean, I didn't see any video, just a photograph, but he looked good. It was nice to see him out there.
And they say a photo adds 10 pounds, right?
Yeah, so he could be even lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Grizzlies, they're one of the hottest teams in the game. They have the 2nd best record, I believe, in the West. In the last 10 games, they're 6-4. They're averaging almost 119 points per game, giving up 113.5. A differential of 5.4, 51.5 rebounds a game. They're one of the top rebounding teams in the game. I think they're in the middle. Maybe actually they're one of the top assist teams. Field goal percentage, they're just solid up and down this roster. The Knicks 3-7 in the last 10 games, but those 3 are the last 3. The Knicks are on a 3-game winning streak. And we're averaging 111.7 points per game, which I think is that's about as high as I've seen it in a while. Huh, Quis? That points per game? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're still
we were hovering around like the 110, 109.
Yeah, 110, 109, 108. I think when I went to update this, it was at 108, I think, or something. The differential's minus 1.7, so we're almost even. We're crawling back up there, but lately we've just been blowing people out like crazy. Assists are still down. I think we are the worst team in the league in terms of assists. And the field goal percentage is nothing that exciting, but it's up to almost 44% now, where it was hovering around 41%, 42% for 10-game stretches there. And here we have our leading scorers, leading point getters, and rebound and assists for the team. Randall's still leading in all 3 categories. Ja leading in 2 of them, and Steven Adams leading in rebounds, 9.8. Both teams are in the last 5, 3-2 coming into this game. And let's see, the Grizzlies, they beat the Pelicans. They lost to the Rockets somehow. Destroyed the Magic, lost to the Celtics, who are blazing hot right now, and beat the Spurs. Kind of up and down. It's hard to make too much of that. So what's your take? What are you looking at for tonight?
It'll be interesting. I'll look at what we did last time out when we played against them. Zaire Williams. He's going to be somebody that I want us to keep an eye on. He can knock down the three. Desmond Bain. Everybody likes to say, or not everybody, but JD's mentioned he wants Grime to grow into the Desmond Bain. We got to take care of him, make sure he doesn't become a problem. And you said RJ versus the Ja matchup. I really want to see how RJ looks, matched up against Ja. Even though I don't think he'll be defending him. I want to see who Tibbs decides to put on him. Does he decide to put Burks on him when he's out there? I'm guessing that's going to be the most likely matchup. But will we see Deuce on him at times? I think this is going to be a good moment where we can see what Deuce can do to disrupt a young point guard that's emerging in this league.
We got to see Deuce tonight. We have to see him, and this is a great defensive matchup for Deuce. Deuce has the lateral movement. I mean, no one can keep up necessarily with Ja, but in terms of having any kind of chance of disrupting him and slowing him down, Deuce is the guy. I'm just worried about
foul trouble. Fouls. That's what I'd be worried about.
Yeah, foul trouble. So we might see a bit of guarding by committee. We might see some Burks on him. We might see some RJ
get shredded, and then we'll see a switch.
Yeah, and we might even see some RJ on him. And then quickly is going to be on him and Deuce. So between those four, hopefully there's enough fouls to
go around.
Yeah, to go around. We just don't want Ja to have an efficient game. If we have Ja doing one of his needs 28 shots to get 30, we can win this game. So we need to disrupt him, disrupt his efficiency. Don't want him to get on a roll, especially both from the outside and driving to the hoop. Steven Adams is going to be a problem for Mitch. He's so strong. So that's I'm curious to see how that works out.
It'll be a nice test because Mitch is always out there flexing. Let's see if he'll be doing some flexing today.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, let's see. We're going to see.
Let's see it, man.
It'll be
a nice matchup.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I think if Thibs, I've noticed a trend. He's substituting earlier, and I think it's smart. Actually, Randall's minutes went from he was leading the team. I can't remember the actual number. It was like 37 something minutes per game pre-All-Star. Since the All-Star break, he's down to 33 minutes a game. And that's good. It keeps him fresher because we know that the longer that Randall plays, the worse he gets. Same for RJ in fourth quarters. That's why we were dying.
More prone they are to mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Knicks have a decent chance of taking this game tonight. I think RJ is going to be ready.
4 in a row?
Yeah, I think 4 in a row. Even if we had won 2 out of the last 3 or whatever, I would still feel the same way based upon the way that we have been playing. The Clippers are a solid team. They're a good team. The Mavericks were one of the hottest teams as well, once again, when we faced them. The Kings were a disaster, but we took care of that. So we've done all the right things in the past 3 games and all on the road. So I think there's a chance. Also, Ja sometimes he likes to kind of show up RJ a bit. So RJ, hopefully he'll be ready with a response. If we hit 38% of our 3-point shots, as Foxy always says, we have a great chance of winning this game. That's my prediction. We're going to win.
Predicting we're going to win? All right.
I predict we're going to win. But I think it might be an overtime thing.
Overtime on a Friday. I hear you.
Overtime Friday. Nice. That'd be so fun. If the Knicks win this game tonight, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. It'll be crazy for a few reasons. One, it'll be crazy because we won, and 2, if we win because of great performances by our young guys, fans still might riot because then they're gonna say Tibbs just pretty much, wasted a season for us by not going to the kids a lot earlier in the season. And that's what I think of whenever I see or whenever the Knicks go out there and win. And when we win, the way we've had in the last 3 games where it hasn't been that, competitive from the other teams. So it's a weird spot to be in because you're happy we win, but then you still feel some levels of regret because you feel like this season could have been different if Tibbs would have just made the right moves when he should have made them.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that concern. The thing is, at some point, we have to let go of what happened already this season. It's already happened at this point. And we only have these 17 games left. And the team has woken up. They're playing really good. I mean, when I watched, I got to see them live against the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no doubt at a certain point. There was no doubt the Knicks were going to win that game. The way they were playing, they just look so good out there. So good.
They were locked in on defense.
Yes, the defense has been and the offense. I mean, both things are clicking right now, and a lot of it is because of the young guys. And it is a shame that Thibs took him so long to get on board on this, but he's finally doing it. Fate has forced his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Forced his hand.
But he's still fighting back. Let's see how many minutes Taj gets tonight.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, you never know. Kept Giggles, Jaren Jackson is way more trouble than Aquaman. He is in general, but I mean specifically for Mitch. Aquaman definitely he's an immovable target there. The guy can't. He's so huge. So we'll see about that, man. Let's hope Mitch has another big game for him. I want Mitch to get the bag.
Let's hope he's feeling better too, because he's been dealing with illnesses over the last few games. So hopefully he's back to 100%.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, we're going to be wrapping this up. Shout out to the chat. Thank you. We surveyed 100 people. Lex the Destroyer for holding it down right there for the mods. Thank you so much. New Yorker, Kept Giggles, Old Head. Okay. I said Old Hand, but it was Old Head. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Want to shout anybody out before we sign off?
Yeah, just want to shout out, like you said, Lex the Destroyer, New York, Gregory Lee, AF Alarm. We surveyed 100 people. Thank you guys for tuning in. Little AJ Vivo. Appreciate the support. Hopefully the Knicks can go out there and win. George thinks we're winning tonight. I'm not so sure about it, but I'll be there rooting for them from my living room. So,
all right. You heard it. I think we're going to win.
Yeah.
I called the last game.
Not so much.
I called it. It was almost exactly how I called it the last game, the Mavericks game. Yeah. But that's rare. It's rare it goes. Yeah, man. Gregory Lee says Miles guarding Ja will be interesting to see. Yeah, this is an interesting game. Definitely, there's a lot of interesting matchups. Lots of interesting stories there in this game. And will Jules be a baby? We'll see.
I don't think he meant it like that, George.
I know, but I twisted it. Hey, I have creative license. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. The next pregame show will be on Sports Vibes TV, so tune in there. And also, Foxy and I are going to be doing a special March Madness live stream on Monday, and we're going to be looking at the draft. We're going to show our mock drafts, and we'll be looking at the March Madness and the draft through the lens of the Knicks. What players make sense, whether we should trade up, trade down, all these different topics are going to be exciting. Definitely tune in for that. We'll be posting some announcements about it pretty soon, but it'll be Monday at 7 p.m. East Coast time. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. My name is George, and this is Quis, Sports Vibes TV, signing off, and we'll see you around the Knicks-Verse.